Hey, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate you tuning in. We are back with another episode of the On the Ball podcast, and we were going to be in for a interesting night. Got a lot of topics to discuss. Last week we did the watch along. We definitely appreciate all like coming through for that one. Trust me, we'll definitely do a lot more of them, especially during the NBA season as it goes along. But tonight we're gonna kind of go back to the old format, but you'll still have a lot of enjoyment and entertainment with it. Before we get started, you already know, I'm joined by Brett, guarded three. I mean, look, NBA season just started. Like, I know this is your time that you love the most, but how are you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's NBA season, NFL going on at the same time. It's my favorite time of the year. It's like Christmas to me.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot better than that. I can agree with that. So we're going to discuss some NBA. There are a couple of things that are newsworthy. I mean, most of these teams, it's like the opening. It's been like a week and a half or so of the season. Not too much to really dive into. Some teams are getting off to good starts. Some are getting off to slow starts, but it's still kind of early to really try to pinpoint, whether a team is good or not. So we will kind of look at a couple of noteworthy things around the NBA, and then we'll get into our NFL, which we'll discuss the primetime games. We'll look at the rest of the schedule. We'll do a little backtrack of week 8. Talk a little about some of the big news that came out of that. So hopefully you guys are ready, and obviously we want to hear from you. So everything we talk about, put it in the chat. Love to hear from you. So let's go ahead and get into our first topic, where the Sixers, fined by the NBA. We heard the story like last week that the NBA was investigating the Joel Embiid, sitting out for a couple of games, and then it was like a week, and now I feel like the new thing is he's just out for a little bit of time. And the NBA, through their investigation, found out that I guess Embiid is out because of a left knee issue. Where the problem was, like, there's no issue with Embiid being out for that. The league had an issue with kind of the way Nick Nurse was handling it, where Nick Nurse kind of made it seem like Embiid was just out just to be out, when in fact there's actually an injury involved. So, I mean, looking at this just to start the season off already, like, is this a big deal? Not necessarily the fine itself, but the fact that Embiid is dealing with a knee injury.
I mean, kinda. Like, you just don't want this to be the start of something because it seems every year he's, dealing with the new injury. It always pops up at the worst times for him. But I guess if he's going to be, banged up, you might as well rest him to start the year and make sure he's 100%. I don't think it's a big deal right now, but obviously this could be very well the start of a troubling trend that we've seen over the years with Embiid, where unfortunately his body just doesn't hold up throughout the regular season. So we'll see what happens. But if I'm the Sixers right now, I'm not overly worried.
Okay. I mean, look, they are dealing with Paul George being out as well. I, I mean, do you have an issue with the way kind of the double speak about Embiid? Like, shouldn't they have just came out and said dealing with a knee injury? That's what it was. Because I heard Nick Nurse, and like it seemed weird the way Nick Nurse was framing the absence of Joel Embiid. So is that an issue for you? Nick Nurse's handling,
I
or
mean, I think it depends, right? Like for me, it's not really a big deal. Like if he's out, he's out. Oh well. Like I get it, the frustration because I'm sure there are fans that are in the Philly area that want to go to games to see Joel Embiid play. So hiding it from them, kind of not fair, right? It's just not fair to some of the fans that might only get their one chance to go to a 76ers game this year, and Nick Nurse is playing. with Embiid's status like that. So I get it. I get why it'd be a big deal to some. To me, it's not really. But at the same time, I'm just a Bucks fan from Milwaukee, so it doesn't really move the needle for me right now. But I completely understand why there would be outrage.
Right. And look, it's obviously something that the NBA has dealt with. Fan satisfaction, the whole load management, and everything like that. The fans who do only get to go to a few games, hoping to see Embiid, and then finding out he's not going to play. I get that from that aspect. I mean, look, it's. I wonder at what point does the conversation maybe happen about him playing in the Olympics? Because we saw him in the Olympics. There were several times where he didn't look right, where he wasn't moving all that well. I mean, I guess there's no correlation necessarily that's been confirmed that that's led to what's going on now. But I mean, for Sixers fans, they have to kind of start connecting the dots and wondering, did he play in the Olympics at the detriment to the start of the NBA season? And if so, I don't know how Sixers fans would feel about that. If there's any Sixers fans listening right now or watching and want to let us know in the chat, like, how do you feel about Embiid missing the start of the regular season?
I mean, we all knew it was a bad idea for him to realistically play in the Olympics, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, he hasn't been able to hold up through 82 games in playoffs, so now the solution is for him to try to play even more basketball. That's never going to be good for the beginning of the season. So, in all reality, the answer to that is yes. Him playing in the Olympics was absolutely detrimental to the beginning of the 76ers season. We all knew that was coming, though, right? Like, there's no way we thought that this wasn't the end result of the Olympics. It's unfortunate, but the reality is he prioritized the gold medal over the beginning of the 76ers season.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but
right.
It all comes
choice.
down to the end, right?
Yeah. I mean, Sixers fans would rather him sit out early in the season as opposed to later in the year. Now, if this is something that pops up every once in a while, he's in and out of the lineup, then yeah, I feel like Sixers fans might really, start getting aggravated with Joel Embiid, even though some of them I feel like might already be there with him. But look, we'll see if there's any more that comes from this. How long is Joel Embiid actually going to be out? That's going to be interesting to see as well. And once he does come back, how many games can he play? All right, let's go on to the next bit of NBA news. This one definitely hits home for me because good old Nick Wright back at it again. I mean, last year he wasn't a big believer in Boston. They won the title. He comes back this year, and now apparently he thinks the Celtics style of play is a problem for the NBA. It's basically like a remixed version of they shoot too many threes. That's kind of where he's coming from. And he says it's boring, which that's the part that gets me. Like Golden State did it. It wasn't boring. People said it was beautiful. All the Celtics have done is they've kind of adapted to the Golden State model, but I don't see where that is seen as boring or a problem for the league. So do you think Nick Wright has any validity to this claim?
No. The answer to that's just straight up not a chance he has validity to this claim.
Yeah.
Because I was told a decade ago that the Warriors were boring and that jump shooting teams never win a title. Like, at the end of the day, people are always going to find something to nitpick. And the reality is the Celtics have built this great team that's perfectly balanced with a lot of great three-point shooters. So guess what a team with a lot of great three-point shooters are going to do? Going to shoot a lot of threes. So overall, I actually think they're a more fun team to watch. I think there's a lot of ball movement and just team play overall. Great defense. Like, I think he could be more off base with this. I actually think the Celtics are a ton of fun. Like, I'm not sure what he wants here. Does he want us to go back to like good old fashioned face ups into 15-foot contested mid rangers? Like, Is he looking for like some 2000s ball where we're just dumping it to our unskilled center in the post? Like, I'm trying to figure out what he wants here because
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea what his issue is. What's going on, Trajan? Said Griffin was not the problem.
Adrian Griffin.
Yeah, look, hey, that's going to be an interesting topic. Which Trajan, I feel like we'll come back to that. Actually, we'll save that one. I got Jory in here. What's going on, Jory? Appreciate you tuning in. We're talking about your favorite analyst, Nick Wrong. I know you love hearing from him. So, but yeah, like I agree with you. It's like I don't understand what these analysts want from these NBA teams. I think if you want to say like the big problem is the teams that are trying to be copycats of the Celtics and the Warriors that don't have the personnel for it, but still play that style of play. Sure, maybe you want to say that, but like you can't say it's boring when it's built off of ball movement. Boring to me was like the height of James Harden when he'd come down, dribble for like 20 seconds, and then take that like step back three. That was boring to watch, especially the nights when he was bricking them. But if you're gonna tell me you get ball movement and the fact that they share the ball as much as they do, getting multiple guys in double figures, yeah, you could miss me with that, Nick Wright.
I was gonna say like, yeah, he probably did hate Kerr first. He probably did find the Warriors boring. He probably found the beautiful game Spurs really boring.
Yeah.
Like, no, I get that because like you want to see boring, go watch any of like the early 2020 Toronto Raptors offense where they either tried to jack up a really like contested three or took just the worst shots possible. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think there are so many examples of just boring basketball. Like, I hate watch the Raptors way too much for the first 4 years of the decade, and they finally started to improve. You want to see boring? Go watch Kyle Kuzma throw up 4 air balls and a half. But the Celtics are definitely not boring. Like, come on, let's be real here.
Yeah, I mean, look, Nick Wright's just gonna be Nick Wright. I mean, I hope this isn't a second year of that narrative. Maybe it's just an isolated incident with Nick Wright, but like we saw it all last year. They doubted them. They get to the playoffs, then they diminish what they did in the playoffs. Then they get to the finals, and everybody assumed, well, not everybody, but a lot of them assumed Dallas was going to beat them because Dallas is a better team. Then the Celtics dismantled Dallas. And it's like, okay, go do it again. They're starting off really well, and now they're boring.
My only guess, I'll say my only guess wrong about that finals was I guessed Boston in 6, and they dismantled them in 5. So I don't. Yeah. To me, it was never a question who the better team was. It was really can Luka and Kyrie find a way to get something going against that defense, and they just couldn't do anything.
Right. And look, certain matchups, it works out that way. But, yeah, hopefully Nick Wright just stops watching and just doesn't comment or, yeah, I don't need this to be beaten into the ground yet again. And also, I do love the fact that the Celtics kind of got petty with inside the NBA on opening night where they sent like the cigars that had like a lot of their statements about them. I kind of found that hilarious. But yeah, so, we'll see how this season kind of progresses, but I do want to go back because I did say, let's go back to Trajan because we know Trajan is a Bucks fan like you. They did play last night with the Celtics and the Bucks. I'm assuming that Trajan's kind of coming from that angle of it as well. So you as a Bucks fan, you've seen Doc for a little bit now. You know what went on with Griffin. Like, how do you make with this whole situation? Is the team any better under Doc than they were with Griffin?
The funny part is I thought like last night against the Celtics, we played our best basketball of the year so far outside of the opening night. Doc is doing the thing again where he wants to rely too much on just aging vets and established contributors. And it's just killing us. Like, Bobby Portis has been awful to start the year. Like, there's no way to shape it. He has been terrible. There's no communication on defense. The energy is just bad half the time. But I have some, maybe Bobby Portis turns it around. But the guy I'm really looking at more so, Pat Connaughton needs to go. He needs to do something, but we need him off my basketball team. I respect what he did for us in 2021, but the issue was 2021 was 3 years ago, and that was about the last time that I've seen, Pat really do much. I want to see us play some of these younger guys. I want to see us get youngers, but Andre Jackson came in, committed 3 fouls. Guess what, Doc? Who cares? Let him work through these mistakes because I'm watching these players over 30 commit even worse mistakes. I would rather have someone like Andre Jackson running around and trying and putting in effort and making mistakes than watching us just completely not communicate, give no effort, and make the same mistakes anyway. So I think under Doc Rivers, the big difference between him and Griffin is, ironically, under Doc, the defense looked better last year than under Griffin.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, I don't think Adrian Griffin was the problem. I think the problem was really just firing Bud without a plan. The problem was just the Bucks front office in general. This has nothing to do with Adrian Griffin in all reality. The problem just comes back to, okay, we're going to hire Adrian Griffin, but yet we're not really going to give him time to implement fully everything that he wants to. And even with us trying to learn his system and everything, we're still, I think when he was fired, it was 33 and 13 or 30 and 13. And then we won a couple games under Joe Prunty. But, Doc comes in and I think he did well with the defense last year, but then the offense fell apart. And now this year, just both are really off. I think it'll get better from here, but we're at the end of the day, we're still unfortunately missing Chris Middleton, who's still recovering from ankle surgery. But I think there is a problem with Doc Rivers in the fact that he's relying too much and trying just these same rotations that aren't working too much on these aging vets and just not trying anything new. Throw Andre Jackson in there more. Throw Tyler Davis in there more. Yeah, he's a rookie, but guess what? Maybe he shows you something. And I just want to see him mix it up some more. So I think there's a Doc Rivers problem, but I don't think it's a completely unfixable problem. I think we just got to be more willing to try new things.
Right, and I feel like you can definitely do that, especially early in the season, where even last night they were on a second night of a back-to-back. Look, a lot of these vets, the last thing they need are back-to-backs this early in the year while they're still trying to get their bodies into shape and into kind of the grind of the season. Last night would have been a night. Throw the young guys out there, mix in their minutes, give the veterans a break. Because, win or lose, does it actually change anything in the grand scheme of things when you get towards June? No. So this is the part of the season you experiment. Maybe you put a young guy out there with a certain lineup and you go, that could work. And then you use it a little bit more. So then come time in the playoffs, there's going to be a game or two where maybe one of your stars gets into foul trouble and you got to look down that bench and you need 5 minutes of somebody to go out there and give you some energy. You'd like to know, hey, whoever, Green or Jackson, you could put them in and you're not ripping your hair out. I mean, Doc is bald, but he's not doing the Peyton Pritchard, because that I did see that when Peyton Pritchard hit the buzzer beater 3 and Doc kind of all the air out of his body was just hunched over on the side. I feel like there are young guys on that Milwaukee team who could carve out a role if Doc allows them to.
And if you want to see his over-reliance on veterans, all I need to do is ask one question. Who's leading the Milwaukee Bucks in minutes right now?
I would guess. Part of me wants to go towards Jory's comment about Torian Prince. I'll say Torian Prince.
You would be correct. Torian Prince is leading the Bucks with 34 minutes a game right now. Like, I don't think this is like, I get it. Chris Middleton's injured. That's when he comes back, that's going to reduce some of these guys' minutes. But even right now, I don't think it's necessary to play Torian Prince 34, 35 minutes a game. Like, throwing some young guys, and we can even slash a little bit of Pat's and Bobby's minutes too. Like we have answers and we have solutions. The real question is, will Doc be willing to make that adjustment? And that's the part that makes me nervous. So we'll see how the season progresses at this point. Which, by the way, I did call us losing to the Nets and Bulls, so I knew that was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I was asked on a different podcast, how are the Bucks going to start? And I said 7-3 with losses to the Nets and Bulls.
Right. I mean, look, like you said, hopefully they turn it around and get into a rhythm, which I've said before, if you have Giannis on your team, I am never going to count you out. The pieces around him, I don't know. Because like you said, I know Trajan would attest to, they are a veteran team, which is kind of the team that Doc loves to use. But, yeah, with this group, yeah, you're going to have to space it out. Especially Torian Prince last night was awful. He got into early foul trouble. I get you start him because the Celtics with their wing play, he's the guy you want to put out there, but he wasn't staying in front of anybody. He was giving you nothing offensively. Why? Like, there has to be a punishment for him not being good on the court. Jory does have a comment. JJ is doing well. Talking about JJ Redick. I saw the clip on TikTok of him yelling at LeBron. It warmed my heart. I love to see it, but
you know the pep talks of Darvin Ham. Nothing will ever top salute. That will be an all-time coaching huddle quote.
Yeah, I agree. JJ's definitely doing well early on in the season. Let's see. I guess. Well, obviously, she's asking that. We could talk a little Lakers here. What have you seen from the Lakers? Like, what do you like? Do you see any potential concerns with them? Like I said, it's only been 3-4 games, so it's kind of hard to really make certain conclusions about them. But like, what are your initial thoughts with the Lakers so far?
I like him. I think JJ's drawing up some great plays. I think there's just a lot more structure, which is helping the entire team in general. They're just trying to play like freelance basketball. And, the concerns with the Lakers are the same as they were last year at the end of the day. Anthony Davis is playing great right now, but I've seen this before. He plays great for 2 weeks and then decides to not be aggressive for the next week and a half. So is this the year we get a consistently aggressive Anthony Davis? We've seen it through 3 games, but I've seen him do it through longer than that and then just randomly decide one day, I just want to be aggressive for the next 5 games or so. So, and then obviously, will the role players keep playing this well? Like, they've been inconsistent, really, this entire LeBron era tenure these past couple of years with LeBron and AD. The problem really around them is when you really need them the most, D'Lo vanishes. Who are you relying outside of D'Lo, Reeves, and Jackson Hayes is playing well? I don't predict that continues, but overall, I think they're playing much better. I think they can have a chance at beating anybody. They're playing that well just from the coaching upgrade. But I do think that they still have the same question marks as the past 2 years. And I think these are questions that won't be answered until we get to Game 60, until we get to Game 80. It'll take us a solid 30 or so games to really see who the Lakers are. But early returns, really like what I see from them. JJ's been fantastic.
Yeah. And I did have Jory's comment before about playing through AD. I love that. I feel like by doing that, that's hopefully going to keep him more locked in for longer stretches. So I agree with you. The times last year where he'd go on like a 3-4 game stretch where he's putting up like crazy, 30, 15 type numbers, and then he'll go a week where it's like 10-8. Like they need more of the dominant AD, especially with LeBron being older and working in guys like Connect and some of these other guys. Like that's going to be key. And look, it seems like I said, with that clip I saw, JJ yelling at LeBron, maybe JJ's the coach who's going to force AD to be that player because we know how skilled he is. Jory said she's done with cardio haze. But yeah, so look, we'll see how the Lakers kind of progress throughout the season. We got John in here. What's going on, John? John has a question as well. Any dark horse team so far? He knows it's still early, but he's throwing out there the Hornets or Cavs.
Part of my bold predictions going into the NBA season, I have two for you. One, Charlotte Hornets and Charles Lee wins Coach of the Year because they make and win a play-in game. And the Houston Rockets. I think Ime has this team ready to take a jump.
Mm-hmm.
I said this before. They look good going into, the end of the year. And now they've only gotten better. I think Reed Shepherd's going to be an absolute stud for them. And I even made the bold prediction that Reed Shepherd wins Sixth Man of the Year and Rookie of the Year. So I think it's going to be the Rockets and I think it's going to be the Hornets that are your two sleeper teams. Last year, I guess the Orlando Magic. That worked out well for me. And this year, hitching my wagon to the Hornets and the Rockets.
Okay. I don't think the Cavs can necessarily count as a dark horse team because they kind of were there a little bit last year. I like some parts of the Cavs. There's still, for me, the question of Donovan Mitchell being your lead guy in the playoffs and whether or not he's able to get you there. But I like kind of how the Cavs play. Their season's going to depend on the development and the expansion of Mobley's offensive game. Like if he can do what I saw a little bit in the playoffs last year where he, knocked down some threes, he created his own offense, then yeah, Cleveland's a team that can be there and make some noise in the playoffs. Hornets, only because I'm not a big LaMelo Ball guy. I just don't know if I can buy into Charlotte right now. They could prove me wrong, but yeah, I can't. I just can't with Charlotte. Let's see. Jory also said, glad they got the Bronny thing out the way. Send him back to the G League. Yeah, and as she also said, bye-bye. Like that whole thing. I guess we could spend like 2 minutes on that before we move on. The fact that the day after opening night, they're like, oh, he's going to go between the G League and the Lakers. It's like, so the opening night thing, him coming in at the same time with LeBron, clearly that was for the vibes, for the moment, for the analysts to be like, oh, look, it's the first time ever, which, sure, as Jory said, get it out the way right away. Now that that's done, it's got to be about Bronny's development. So you put him in the G League, you let him play 30 minutes a night, good, bad, indifferent, don't care. Just leave him there. No need to have him going back and forth just for him to sit on the bench and get the little camera moment or the mic'd up segment between he and LeBron. Leave him in the G League until he's fully ready to go and has a role with the Lakers. Then you bring him up and do whatever. That would be the only thing I would say about that.
Yeah, at the end of the day, like, Bronny has talent. Before he had his heart issues, he was projected to go 17th overall in the first round. Like, there's clearly talent there, and if you take the time to develop him properly and he becomes a quality, player, says he can't come up next year and be a rotation guy right away.
Yeah.
Like, I think, if I remember correctly, I think D'Lo's gone after this year. I don't think he has long left on his contract, so who says that Bronny can't step up for them even as early as next year and be a legitimate rotation piece? I don't want to put that on him because he might still be a couple of years away from being an NBA caliber player, but I think that's the right call. Put him in the G League, focus on his development, and I think that Bronny NBA minutes, like, consistently could be coming sooner rather than later.
Okay. Let's see. John, I guess, wants to throw the Magic head coach in as Coach of the Year possibility. I think, yeah. I mean, look, if Paolo Banchero is going to give you a few nights like he had last night, the Magic will get a lot of attention. If they can be top 4, 5 in the East, I think that would bring a lot more attention as well. Like I get from your point of view, Brett, like if because of how bad Charlotte's been, if Charlotte is in the play-in tournament, that is seen as a big jump for them. And we know with Coach of the Year, a story like that would usually overshadow the Magic, where they're kind of slowly building up to something. And yes, the coach there has done a great job, but I think he'll probably definitely get votes. It'll just depend on if one of these lower tier teams has a surprise season. He probably will lose out on that. Or unless like if Orlando like wins the East, then yeah, he'll probably obviously get it at that point. John also said, "Are the Bucks? Is the Bucks run over? They look lost."
Um, ask us again, probably closer past the All Star break. Like,
That's fair.
it's impossible to tell this early into the season, really, because we've seen worse starts get turned around. And Milwaukee, I think the pieces are there for them to do something. It really we're just gonna have to see if Doc's willing to use that. How good, does Chris Middleton look after yet another, ankle surgery? So it's one of those things I don't think we'll really be able to tell with the Bucks till All-Star break or game, closer to game 50 or 60. Then I think we can draw a great conclusion with Milwaukee. But until then, I think it's too early to tell.
Yeah, I agree with that. I said it before. I'll say it again. Giannis is there. I'm not going to count them out. All right. Jory also wants to bring up the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets look old, missing a piece or something. And then what's with Murray?
Oh, Murray's just been off since the playoffs. Like, let's be real. He was terrible in the playoffs. And the counter argument of he had 2 game winners doesn't sit well, considering him playing well for like 6 minutes out of the entire playoffs. Doesn't change the fact that he was terrible in the playoffs. He was terrible in the Olympics. Like, I'm not sure what's up with him. I'm not sure if it's mental. I'm not sure what's going on. If he's just, on a cold streak. He's got plenty of time to turn it around. But yeah, if I'm the Denver Nuggets, I might be a little concerned because now I know it's only 3 games into the regular season, but this has been going on longer than that. Like he kind of slowed down in the end of March of last year. He picked it up for about 5 games in April, and then he completely fell off a cliff in the playoffs. So it will be interesting. And then of course there's the whole non-Jokic minutes, and that's really what's wrong with the Nuggets.
Yep.
The non-Jokic minutes are maybe the worst I've ever seen.
They are brutal.
And that's saying a lot. Like, Christian Braun was, he got moved to the starting lineup. That's one less bench piece. Deron Holmes tore an ACL. So these bench lineups, with Peyton Watson and Russell Westbrook being your floor spacers, just are not great. I watched the Thunder completely nuke those offenses by putting Chet Holmgren on Russ and just camping him in the paint. Overall, they just got to find a way to get better floor balance and floor spacing, because if they can't, it's not going to be a great year for them, because those non-Jokic minutes aren't going to get any better if they can't find a way to bring more spacing to the second unit.
Yeah, and crazy thing is, like, Jokic deals with that when he plays for his country as well. Like, his minutes off the court are usually rough. I think with Denver, and this is probably something we probably should have seen over the past couple of seasons, when they were going through and losing key rotation, like bench players each offseason, it seems like that has completely caught up with them. Because like you said, this team is basically Jokic and hope and a prayer. You hope Murray figures it out. You hope Porter Jr. can be consistent. the fact that he is still so up and down, that's a big problem for them, especially with this team that they have right now. They need Porter Jr. to be a more reliable piece on that team, and he just isn't there. Aaron Gordon, look, Aaron Gordon just got paid, so that means you got to put more on him as well with this group. The Russell Westbrook part of it, look, I love Russ, I do, but my worry is this turns into another Laker type thing. Remember, he was the Lakers. He looked completely lost. People called him washed. I just worry about with him in Denver. Now, maybe Mike Malone could figure out something. Maybe the thing is, like, if Jokic is on the bench, you put Russ out there with some guys who just want to run and just run. Take him for what it is. Try to get in transition, easy buckets. Just do that, because we know what Russ is in the half court, a liability. And every team will put their weakest defender on Russ, have them play free safety in the paint, and that's gonna be rough to watch with Denver. So we'll see what Mike Malone can figure out over there. And John also says, I'm surprised they haven't played DeAndre Jordan. I mean, it's DeAndre Jordan, though. Like, how much do you really want to play him at this point?
I don't even, because DeAndre Jordan's just cooked. That's really all there is to it. DeAndre Jordan is, you can play him, but he's not going to give you anything at this point.
Right.
It's funny. So, yeah, and this shows exactly perfectly what's wrong with Denver. So I'm looking at, the good old fashioned, their offensive rating, defensive rating, and just overall net rating of each individual player. So the starting lineup, they're all positive. Nikola Jokic, they're 1.5 points better with him on the floor. Aaron Gordon, 3 points better with him on the floor. Ironically, Jamal Murray, 4 points better with him on the floor. Christian Braun, 7 points better with him on the floor. And then you got like a 4-way tie for guys, players who are just at a 0 net rating. But this is where it gets ugly. Michael Porter Jr., the only starter in negatives, he's a -4 on the year. They're 4 points worse with him in the game. Julian Strawther is a -28. Peyton Watson a -29. But Russell Westbrook is slightly worse, a -29.5. And Dario Saric is a -50. That's your problem right there. I'm not expecting you to win non-Jokic. I don't even need you to really be, I don't expect you to even really do that great, but you need to be able to stay competitive. And that's the problem. As soon as Jokic leaves the game, this team just gets blown out of the water to such an absolute degree that it doesn't matter what Jokic does. There's just no coming back from that. Yeah. So they just got to find a way to stabilize that second unit, because it's a 3-game sample size, small sample size, but that's really what's going on. They're missing bench pieces.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the big part of it. And look, like, those are like deep analytics, but just looking at baseline stats, Jokic is averaging 32 and 10. He's having an MVP type of season. That's kind of on par with him. After that, Jamal Murray's at 17. Okay, I guess you could live with that. Porter's at 12. Gordon's at 12. Then after that, it just drops off. Strawther's at 7. Westbrook's at 6. Watson's at 3 a game. So they just need to, I don't know. It's either the style of play is not working, the offense isn't working for some of these guys. But if this is the kind of production you're going to get, it's going to be a rough season in Denver. Even if they find a way into the playoffs, this group is not going to scare anybody out west. Like, not at all. Jory says, blame the smug coach, which, hey, Malone has definitely he's definitely rubbed people the wrong way. So, yeah, maybe to some fans, this is them getting what they deserve. I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how they can turn it around, or if it just falls off of a cliff, then yeah. George says dynasty, my butt. Yeah. All right. I feel like that was a good, nice little NBA segment to it. Um, Unless there's anything you guys want to add before we move on to NFL, or Brett, you have anything you want to talk about NBA wise?
Oh no, I'm super excited to shut out the Bears today. Like I prayed for it and it happened.
All right. So now looking at the NFL. I mean, look, if you guys know anything about me, you know where we're starting our NFL conversation. Here we go. Good old Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, because I'm not letting them slide. You knew that. So the Jets, they go ahead, they face the Patriots. John, there it is right there. Go Pats, absolutely. Go into the game as a 7-point favorite, and they ended up losing, not to Drake May, who went out after a controversial hit when he slid and he got hit in the head, went out for concussion protocol. But Jacoby Brissett led the drive to give the Patriots the lead and ultimately the win, leaving Aaron Rodgers salty, leaving Jets fans up in arms about what this team looks like. I mean, we're 8 weeks in. The Jets are a disaster. Where do they point the fingers? Because obviously, it's not Salah anymore. He's gone. It's not Mike Williams' fault. He's, I don't know, in Siberia or whatever. Like, where do we put the blame? And at this point, is this 100% Aaron Rodgers?
So that I gotta say no to 100% being Aaron Rodgers, because when a team is this much of a disaster, it's never just one player, right?
That's true.
I
mean, I was probably a little bit.
Yeah, no, I got it.
Aaron Rodgers, yeah.
Some of your generational Jets hating, I get it. I respect it. I respect the hate. No, I think Aaron Rodgers, is part of the problem. I really think what ended up a lot of the problem is I think he's playing well, but I think he needs help, and I think therein lies the problem. And I don't mean help like he needs more offensive help. I think they have plenty of offense. The problem is now there's just no structure. It's just Aaron Rodgers, go to the line, do whatever you want, run whatever play you want. And the problem is that worked for Nathaniel Hackett like 3 years ago when Aaron Rodgers was still MVP Rodgers, but he's not anymore. He had his best seasons under, Matt LaFleur this decade, with a great system, with motion, and just overall great play calling. I think Matt LaFleur really, helped mask some of, Rodgers, aging with his offense. And now he's back with Nathaniel Hackett. And he's been inconsistent. Rodgers has been inconsistent. But I think a lot of this blame has to be placed at the feet of Nathaniel Hackett. And I just think it's just at the end of the day, it's just all on the Jets organization. This is a team that had to draw a line, I think, with Rodgers. Okay, you want to bring in some of your friends, great. I think some of them, your friends, could still produce. Allen Lazard could still produce, for example. But I think they did have to tell him no. And I think they let him go a little too far with a little too much decision-making, a little too much power. Like, Allen Lazard, once again, one of the best run-blocking wide receivers in football, can still catch the football. Bring him in. You want to bring in Nathaniel Hackett, who's an absolutely terrible offensive coordinator? No, keep him home. You want to bring in Randall Cobb? Awesome. You know what? He's a great veteran presence for the locker room. I think at the end of the day, it's really just a complete organizational failure on the absolute Jets. And I think really it's unfortunate because I was wrong. I'll be the first to admit I was wrong on the Jets. I thought they were going to have a great year, and it just hasn't happened. And it's just an organizational failure in general.
That I agree with. I think and this kind of goes to when you look at cities like Boston, New York, LA, cities with multiple teams, there's that fight for attention. The Jets have always been second guessed in their own city. The Giants are more popular. The Yankees, because they're still playing right now, they're more popular. The Knicks are more popular. The Jets are always waving their hand like, hey, pay attention to us. So when they got Aaron Rodgers, they put him on this pedestal that was undeserving, and this is what they're getting. Because by doing that, they empowered him to throw his weight around. Like you said, somebody needed to tell him, no, you can't have this guy. You can't have that guy. We can't do it this way. Run the ball more. Use Brees Hall. Like all that kind of stuff. It's almost to the point now. They need to treat Aaron Rodgers like almost like Peyton when he was with Denver. Obviously, Peyton had the injuries that kind of diminished his ability, but he was just along for the ride then. This Aaron Rodgers is acting like he's still that guy, which he's not. And then when they lose, he's doing the same stuff by, playing with the media to call people out. It's like, bro, you are in no position to call anybody out. Like, you aren't playing well. I mean, you sat there and had Drake May, a rookie, and Jacoby Brissett lead an offense that's supposed to be like terrible, and you couldn't beat them. You've now lost to Drake May, Jacoby Brissett, Bo Nix, Sam Darnold. Like, come on, man. I know you're not playing against them, obviously, at the same time on the field, but you got to win those matchups. I don't care. If you're Aaron Rodgers, if you're that guy that the media likes to say, it's been a disaster. So, I guess the main question, which I probably should have led with, are the Jets the biggest disappointment in the league this year?
I mean, the answer has to be yes, right? This is a team that they had, like, even myself thought they were Super Bowl contenders. I picked them to be there this year. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I was wrong. I'll be the first to admit I was wrong on that.
Mm-hmm.
But then they come out and they do this, which, at the end of the day, it's unfortunate, but hopefully they learned their lesson. Rodgers can say that, he didn't have, he didn't bring friends with him. He didn't have any input in their these choices, but let me put it this way. I highly doubt the Jets went into the last offseason and said, you know what we need? Billy Turner and Tim Boyle. They were not looking in that direction at all. I promise you. Hey, Adrian Amos has looked terrible for the last year and a half. Yeah, bring him in. Like, that had a lot of these moves had Rodgers written all over it. And it's just, at the end of the day, I think the only way you can sum it up is dysfunctional franchise being dysfunctional.
Yeah, that's definitely true, John. If the Yankees were in the World Series, a lot more people in New York would be, upset with the Jets.
When they get it, Aaron Judge is taking all the attention off Rodgers. You're good.
Yeah.
That's it. 140. You're good.
When they get attention, then what happens? Yep, they have Hassan Reddick. Like, that's been added to this pot of dysfunction because now that he's actually on the field, he didn't even play that well. And now he and Belichick I guess he has an issue with Belichick. We know Belichick doesn't care anything about Hassan Reddick, but yeah, I mean, Reddick, what have you done? Belichick's done a lot in this league. Like, you need to have several seats. And Jets' main problem is no run game. That is true, but I really believe a lot of that is on Hackett, Downing, and Rodgers. They probably don't want to run the ball. You have Brees Hall back there. You have Braylon Allen, who's been a good complementary back to Brees Hall. I don't get why they don't use the both of them more. Use them in the screen game a little bit more. That's what I'm saying. Like, the same way Denver dialed it back with Peyton Manning and just allowed him to facilitate a little bit, that's what New York needs to do with Aaron Rodgers. I just wonder who in that building could sit Aaron Rodgers down and go, we're not doing it your way anymore. We're doing it my way. And deal with the fact that he's just going to pout around on the sidelines and all that. Just live with it. I don't think anybody in there will do it to him, though.
And Aaron Rodgers
Yeah.
led teams that kind of never really had a great run game. Like, he's very quick to check out of runs to put the ball back in his hands. That's something that
Yeah.
should have been expected as soon as he got signed or got traded to the Jets.
Mm-hmm. Which is something that Manning used to do a lot with the Colts. He would check out of runs for pass plays. Yeah, but I mean, look, you're not getting any sympathy from me for the Jets. I root for this to just continue this way because it makes me feel better about the Patriots. Because now I can sit here and say the Patriots split with those Jets. With all the issues the Patriots have, they got to win against the Jets. That kind of makes the season for me. Let's go on to another team that we love to talk about. Those Indianapolis Colts have made a decision at quarterback yet again. Anthony Richardson's been benched, which means Joe Flacco is taking over in Indy. So I think the main question here is, does it make sense benching Anthony Richardson right now? Or
No.
should they kind of just let him play through it, and because you're not going anywhere anyway? But yeah, go ahead.
The answer is no, it doesn't make any sense. And you just kind of said it right there. You're not going anywhere anyway. Like, put Joe Flacco in there. Guess what's going to happen? Absolutely nothing. You're going to win some more games, and the only thing you're going to do is ruin your own draft position. But you're not going to be good enough to do anything anyway. You're not going to be good enough to make the playoffs. So what do you benefit here from rolling with Joe Flacco? Like, I think maybe you're trying the Bryce Young method of start the veteran for a couple weeks, then put him back out there. Which, if you were gonna, sit Anthony Richardson, you should have just done it at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, none of this makes sense. Anthony Richardson was it's not like when you drafted Anthony Richardson, we were touting him as, oh, he's a pro-ready QB. He was a project when he got drafted. We knew he was a project. And now the Colts are, like, mad because a project 10 games into his career is still a project. He's still a work in progress. So, at the end of the day, like, I think it's just stupid on the Colts' behalf. Like, Richardson, he's still young. He still has time. Just keep getting him those reps. And if you, have a down year and you lose a lot of games this year, who really cares? It's not like with Joe Flacco, you're, investing in the future anyway.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like, you drafted him where he was. He was a project when you got him. You can't start the rebuild of the project and then get frustrated midway through, like you're surprised he's still a project. Like, you kind of gotta have to live with it. You play him for a season or two. If he's not showing any progress, then you can move on from him. Because, like you said, you put Flacco in there, he wins you a few more games. You lose some draft positioning, unless Steichen feels like there's some pressure on him to win, and that's why he's making this move. Because if there's one thing we know Jim Irsay is not, he is not a rational guy. So he may have gotten in Steichen's ear and been like, this isn't good enough, and Steichen made the decision. I don't know. But Jory's saying he's been playing, got trash juice almost all year. They look better with Flacco. Steichen must be trying to save his butt. Yes, that might be where this move is coming from. I mean, look, more power to you. Because best case scenario, okay, Flacco leads you to a wild card game. Are you trusting Flacco to beat teams like the Chiefs, Ravens, the Bills, the Texans, whoever else? You trust the Steelers? You trust them to beat any of those teams in the playoffs? Probably not. So, I don't know. I don't agree with it. But then again, I didn't really agree with drafting Richardson that high. But I assume that once they did that, they were going to give him every opportunity to develop. And it kind of seems like they're playing it both ways here. Let's see. Oh, yeah, John. I think I might have skipped over this one by accident. Panthers traded away their best player for a 5th rounder. Owner planning on selling.
Panther fans are probably praying for it. They're probably hoping though we're selling because David Tepper's terrible. But
yeah. Those of you might not know, Deontay Johnson was traded from the Panthers to the Ravens. So the Ravens add another wide receiver because, hey, if they're when in doubt, bring in another wide receiver. Like that's where all their issues have been.
You know, I'm sorry. In your Discord earlier, that was still so funny when they're like, "Oh," when our boy Jordan, shout out Jordan, goes, "Oh well, he's moving to a better system now." I'm like, "Well, I hope Baltimore is a better system than Carolina. Carolina's just an absolute disaster." I don't even know if the owner's trying to sell. I think this is just a terribly run organization. Like, I don't even think that there's been no reports about him wanting to sell or anything. I just think the GM sucks. Because it's not like you got a lot. I think they swapped like a fifth and a sixth. So I think there is actually just like almost like a pick swap, and you're moving up like 15 spots or something like that, or 20 if I remember correctly. And I could be wrong, but it's just, I think this is just a short term, like this. I think you're thinking about the future with this move, but it almost feels like you sold low. So
yeah. Jury says, after saying getting him hurt in the process, tell us this: the Ravens better stop blaming the receivers for everything. That I do agree with. Their last loss was not on the receivers, even though I know Bateman had a drop or whatever. I'm sorry. You can't have like third and short and allow a wide open receiver downfield for Jameis Winston to hit. Like that's on the defense. The defense has come up short, come up small so many times this season that I agree with you, Jory. I'm not blaming receivers because they keep bringing in receivers there. They still haven't won a Super Bowl. They still haven't been to an AFC title. Well, they've been to an AFC title game. They haven't won an AFC title game. Like, it's got to be something else. I mean, I know Jory has been a proponent of Harbaugh because talked about that on here before. I mean, Harbaugh could be a problem. We know about Lamar and his limitations still when it comes to throwing. And no, that's not throwing shade at Lamar. Yes, he's a great athlete. He makes some throws. It's just the consistent throws downfield outside the numbers that I feel like a lot of teams force him to do in the playoffs. That's where a lot of the problems come into play. And I'll still say Derrick Henry is going to be the most important player to their success. I don't know if Lamar Jackson fans want to hear that. That's kind of the truth, though. And the quicker they learn that, the better off they will be. All of a sudden, Rashad Bateman can't catch when the defense got them beat. Yeah. And allowing Preacher Winston to carve them up. I mean, Jameis Winston had like 335 yards. Who had that on their bingo card for that matchup? I mean, we know Winston can throw it, but 335, yeah, Baltimore, you got to do better. And Jory also says he is the problem, Lamar, and the secondary outside the two Kyles and Van Noy and Hamilton are vulnerable. Yeah. Humphreys had some rough games. Roquan Smith, a lot of teams have been attacking him over the middle with their running backs and tight ends. Matabike, where's he been? He had double-digit sacks last season, got paid. He has like 2 or 3 sacks now. So yeah, a lot of downgrades on that defense that's going on, and that's why they've lost some of these games. Oh, he is in Harbaugh. Sorry, I said he is in Lamar, but okay. I mean, Harbaugh's been there for a while. At some point, pressure needs to be put on him. Okay, let's go. All right, let's get into picks now. I will say, as a little bit of a tease here, a couple of us had a really good week. One, if you want to guess who that one is, let's just say it's the person talking right now. Did not have the best week. Brett, you and Dylan had really good weeks. So let me bring this up really quickly.
Say
Also,
shout
you
out
on
to
the
my
chat? Go
say
ahead.
shout out to my Matt Eberflus still being an idiot take, looking like frickin' wine after this past week. I was
Right.
told like, oh, Hard Knocks, he looks changed. Like, who calls a fullback dive with the backup center on the 1 yard line? Like, you can tell he
Yeah.
didn't practice that because he didn't secure the ball at all, then fumbles it. When you
Mhm.
have a running back who, on every single run he's had inside the 5, he scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, and then of course, shout out to my favorite player of the week, Tyreek Stevenson. Great coverage on the Hail Mary, buddy.
Exactly. Why is it not sharing the screen? Oh, come on. Let's see. Share. Yes. While it's coming up, John said he's surprised best rookie quarterback for the month of October is Nix. First in passing touchdowns, TD interception ratio, passing yards, rushing touchdowns, and wins. Bo
Good
Nix
for
is definitely playing, I think, a lot better than a lot of us thought. I definitely will give him credit for that. And let's see. All right. So the screen's not going to share. Great. Uh,
the Yankees are going to get swept, Kyle. I know that breaks your heart.
oh, I might shed a tear for New York. As George said, Freeman homer again. That's MVP right there. If the Jets want to be in the hot house, they should switch with the Yankees, who are currently 2-0 to the Dodgers in a
It's okay,
pivotal
New
game.
York. You still have the Jets and Giants and Buffalo. At least you have Buffalo. There you go.
Yeah, New Yorkers don't even claim Buffalo though, so no, they don't. They don't get that. Freeman homer again. Yeah, like I said, I mean, look, if they win tonight, he's overwhelmingly going to be the MVP of the World Series. Question and look, I know we normally don't talk a lot of baseball in here, but the funny part is the Dodgers are basically treating this like a throwaway game. They put like a bullpen arm out on the mound to start, and if they win this, it's going to be hilarious. I said before, get the brooms out. I don't see a lot of fight in the Yankees team, but still plenty of game to go. All right, so I don't know. For some reason, the screen won't share, but I'll let you know that Brett, you got Rams +3, Niners -4, Steelers -6.5, Commanders +1.5. Once again, Commanders are like a lock to cover. The one pick you missed, Packers -4.5.
Oh, yeah. You know what?
I mean,
I'll take it.
they won by a field goal, but yeah, 4 in 1 week, you'll take that. Dylan had a similar week where missed with the Vikings -3, got the Niners -4, Steelers -6.5. He got the Lions -11, and Eagles +2.5, which that Eagles game really shocked me as well. So 4 and 1 for him. I, on the other hand, I lost with the Vikings -3. I got the Steelers and the Niners. Those are the 2 wins. Look, I'm going to say this now. I think it's the second time I picked the Ravens for my pick. They failed miserably. I'm done picking the Ravens because I had Ravens -9. They obviously lost. I had the Seahawks +3, and the Bills rolled them. So, yeah. So I will say, Ravens, I'm not picking them. I'm done picking them. All right. So, let's see. We do have primetime games to get into as I try to figure out why the screen won't share. But I will say to start off with, we have Texans traveling to New York to face Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. What might be the most surprising part is the Jets are a 2-point favorite against the Texans. I gotta believe part of that is I think Thursday Night Football home team has won most weeks, so maybe that's what it is. But I mean, yeah, how are you seeing this one playing out with the Jets as a 2-point favorite?
I'm going to pick the Texans to cover. I feel like I don't need to really explain why. But I just watched Jacoby Brissett, carve this defense up, and like a half a Drake May still did really well.
Mm-hmm.
And even without Stephon Diggs, who's out for the year with a torn ACL, I think Nico Collins is still out. I think even just Tank Dell is enough. I think Tank Dell is, no offense to your receiver room, but I think Tank Dell would easily be the best receiver in there. So give me the Texans.
All right. I'll take the Texans as well. I mean, I just came off saying I'm rooting for the Jets to complete bottom out. I'm not going to pick them to turn it around this week. So yeah, I'll take the Texans as well. I don't know. I was shocked that they were a 2-point dog, especially with what we know what's going on with the Jets. Jory does say Houston is gettable. I can
That's
agree
true.
with that. I just don't know if the Jets are that team to do it.
The issue
Next
is
up.
the Jets are very good.
Right. Right. Houston's gettable. The Jets are really gettable. Next up, we have the Colts. I mean, once again, another team we talked about tonight, heading up to Minnesota to face the Vikings. This would be Sunday Night Football, which how the Colts get on Sunday Night Football, but that's neither here nor there.
Who
And
would
the
thought
Vikings
this was
are.
a good prime time game? I'm sorry.
I have no idea. I don't know where this one came from on the schedule. I guess they were rooting for Anthony Richardson to look a little better. Who knows? But Colts travel to Minnesota to face the Vikings. The Vikings are a 5-point favorite. Who are you picking in this one?
I think the Vikings win, but I'm actually going to pick the Colts to cover. I think Joe Flacco is actually like the perfect caliber of quarterback to really stress this Vikings defense.
Mm-hmm.
The issue with playing the exotic coverage and the things that the Vikings do is they ask their linebackers and corners to cover a lot of ground. So, like a quick, decisive gunslinger kind of will give them fits. You saw it in the second half of the Packer game where they jumped out 28-0, but then Jordan Love just started dicing them up, especially in that fourth quarter, throwing 3 touchdowns. Matthew Stafford, I believe, diced them up too.
Mm-hmm.
And now I think Joe Flacco, strong-armed, quick decision maker. I think he does the same. I think he makes this a closer game than it should be, but I think the Vikings hold on. But, give me the Colts to cover.
Okay. I mean, look, it's inevitable that Flacco plays better than Richardson, so they should have a better chance. I would take the Vikings. I think Flores in the defense will show out well. I think Sam Darnold will play well also. I mean, the 5 points doesn't necessarily scare me too much. So I'll take them for sure. Let's see. All right. I was trying to see if there was a reason why the screen share is not working. All right. Either way, we'll just make it happen. Monday Night Football. This one's an interesting matchup. Probably looked a lot better a couple of weeks ago, but you have the Bucks with Baker Mayfield heading up to Arrowhead to face the Chiefs. The Chiefs are an 8.5-point favorite. We know the Chiefs are undefeated. It hasn't been a masterpiece every week, but they're undefeated. So can Baker and the Bucks give them their first loss, or do you have the Chiefs covering?
The 8.5 kind of scares me, but I actually think the Chiefs will cover it. I'm going to pick the Chiefs to cover, and I think the issue really comes back down to the Buccaneers are out of receivers. They're not going to have a passing attack to lean on. And the Buccaneers have never been a strong, run team. This is not a team that strength is going to be the run game, but I think this is an ugly blowout that the Chiefs win. I think this would have been more of a game, obviously, if, the Buccaneers receivers didn't all injure their legs, but unfortunately they did, and I think this Monday Night Football game is going to be really ugly.
Yeah, I mean, look, the part that's giving me hesitation here is the Chiefs usually don't cover. They usually play not necessarily down to their competition. It's just that I think the margins are much smaller for this Chiefs team, even though they are still winning. But it is kind of tough not having Mike Evans or Godwin there. Uh, this is a tough one. I mean, John does bring up a point. The Bucks have Bucky Irving, who could eat, but I think it's gonna be tough. Arrowhead on a Monday night. I'll take the Chiefs as well. All right. So now we gotta get into the rest of the schedule, which once again, if the screen share would work, would make this a lot easier. But you'll have to bear with me as I will read these out. Because now, if you are new to the show, we pick the primetime games, and then now we look at the rest of the schedule, give you our favorite pick and our favorite underdog pick. Not necessarily to win the game, but as an underdog we think will cover. I see John has thrown in a couple of picks himself. He has given me the Rams to cover and win over the Seahawks. Okay.
Oh yeah, oh god, even Bucky Irving is questionable for this game. So
Yeah,
but
yeah.
this is actually really hilarious once you read it, because it's the Buccaneers might be running out Jalen McMillan, Trey Palmer, and Sterling Shepard as their 3 receivers for this game.
Yeah. I mean, that kind of does play into Baker Mayfield's hand. Baker Mayfield loves the underdog role. So I think it might be interesting. But yeah, I'll take the Chiefs. Yeah. If it was in Tampa Bay, maybe. But going to Arrowhead, I think that's a tough ask for them. All right, so here are the rest of the picks. Once again, if you are just coming in, the screen share is not working right now, so bear with me as I read these matchups off. So you got Cowboys at the Falcons, with the Falcons as a 2.5-point favorite. The Dolphins traveling to Orchard Park to face the Bills. Bills are the 6-point favorite in that matchup. The Raiders are traveling to Cincinnati to face Burrow and the Bengals. The Bengals are a 7.5-point favorite in that matchup. The Chargers going on the road to Cleveland. The Chargers are a 1.5-point favorite on the road there. As John mentioned, you got Pats Titans this week, which obviously Jory's in the chat, big Titans fan. So it's going to be an interesting week for the both of us. The Titans are a 3.5-point home favorite in that matchup. The Commanders are a 3.5-point road favorite heading up to New York to face the Giants. The Saints are a touchdown favorite heading to Carolina facing the Panthers. The Broncos are traveling to Baltimore to face the Ravens. The Ravens are a 9.5-point favorite. The Jags face the Eagles in Philly. The Eagles are a 7.5-point favorite. Bears Cardinals, interesting matchup. Caleb Williams versus Kyler Murray. The Cardinals are a 1-point home favorite. The Lions are a 3.5-point road favorite over your Packers in Green Bay. And the Rams, 1.5-point favorite over the Seahawks. Game is up in Seattle with the 12th man. 2 teams on a bye this week. You have the 6-2 Steelers and the 4-4 Niners. Like I said, that's definitely a lot to go through. So if there is a matchup that you need me to read the spread on, once again, let me know. But who are you picking for your favorite and your underdog for the week?
I'm gonna go with for my. You know what? So it's really tough, right? Mood is a Titans fan. Make it stop, please. So these are some really tough picks. I'm gonna go with my lock. I'm gonna take old reliable. Give me the Commanders over the Giants.
I mean, they haven't steered you wrong, so why not?
Great. Let's go to the well one more time. And you know what? For my upset, give me. You know what? I'm gonna ride or die with my team. Give me the Packers over the Lions.
I like it. Okay. So Packers.
Packers have kind of, in a way, like with the Love injury, they've been kind of defying odds for half the year. If you told me Malik Willis was going to be the starter for 2 games and have to play in clutch time during another, I would assume we'd be 0-3, but we won all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Navigating these injuries have been great. And you know what? Screw it. Let's do it one more time. Let's give the Lions a run for their money and see if we can upset them. At least don't let them drop 50 on our head, please.
Right. Okay. Hey, I like both of those. Those are good picks. All right. So for me, I feel like picking the favorite will probably be the easier one here. I feel like I will go with. I want to go Bills -6 over the Dolphins. Only thing is, the Bills are so Jekyll and Hyde. That would be the random game that Tua goes off, Tyreek Hill's running all around, and Josh Allen struggles. It is a divisional game, so I think Josh Allen will be locked in. He'll be ready to go. So I'll take the Bills -6. Maybe that's just the Mike McDaniel hatred in me creeping up there. Now my underdog. Like Bears +1 would seem like an easy one, but that team could be mentally damaged after losing on a Hail Mary like that. Jags, I mean, as bad as the Eagles have been, I can't trust the Jags in that one. I'm not going to. Could the Broncos make it interesting against the Ravens? I don't know if Bo Nix can attack that secondary.
Just pick the Patriots over the Titans.
I kind of want to. I'm assuming like Drake May is back. I think Drake May is looking really good. I don't even think I picked the Patriots that much this season. You know what? Let's do it. Why not?
We'll just
I'll take the Pats. I'll take the Pats. Pats +3.5. I mean, what does worry me? Titans front seven against the offensive line there. But the offensive line actually played well this past week against the Jets. Jets can't pressure the quarterback either. But, I'll do it. Because all the other games, I'm not going to take the Cowboys +2.5 for the Falcons, even though both those teams, who knows. So, yeah, we'll go with that. So, just to let you guys know, Brett and I are both taking the Texans +2 Thursday night. We're split on Colts Vikings. You have the Colts +5. I've got the Vikings -5. We both are taking the Chiefs -8.5. Your favorite, you got the Commanders -3.5. Because, like I said, Commanders have not steered anybody wrong all season. You're taking your Packers +3.5 for your underdog. I've got the Bills -6 over the Dolphins, and I'm taking my Patriots +3.5 over the Titans. As Jory said, the Bears deserve to lose that. Yes, if Stevenson wants to sit there and taunt the crowd and not be ready for a Hail Mary attempt, they absolutely deserve that.
Also, can we talk about how stupid Eberflus sounded in the post-game presser? Like, the play before the Hail Mary, it didn't really matter. It's like, it turns out 13 yards is the difference between the Hail Mary, coming anywhere near the end zone and just playing a game of, hook and lateral, or a Hail Mary attempt, which obviously the hook and lateral game is a lot less effective than, putting the ball in the end zone in a Hail Mary attempt. So, to me, that is just, like, one of the most, like, low IQ comments that he could have said. Like, yeah, it turns out 13 yards really does matter at the end of a game.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I know a lot of teams like to do that. They'll play like the prevent, and smart teams will take kind of what you can get to make the Hail Mary a little bit shorter. I mean, even for Jaden Daniels, when he let go of the pass, he was about 10 yards behind the line of scrimmage. But yeah, that obviously turned out to be the difference. I mean, look, I guess Eberflus as a defensive coach, he's obviously not going to take the full blame for that, but it definitely was dumb to do.
Like
But hey, that's the
I think
news.
Well, like I think someone like, for example, I think Bill Belichick really was great when it came to that situation because he would have guys back and prevent, but he'd also have someone on each receiver pressing. That way,
Right.
that out of bounds throw's tough. You have to take a second to beat the press, and of course that gives a second. Maybe your pass rush gets the sack, but I think this idea of just playing 20 yards off with 10 seconds to go or whatever. It's
Mhm.
just stupid. Like, why would you even risk it and give them a chance? I think teams have to be. I'm not saying send the house on a zero blitz, but I think that would be a little more aggressive and start getting people up at the line in those situations.
Mhm.
Make the play before the Hail Mary difficult, and don't just give up 3 yards.
Yes, and that what you're saying about Belichick is definitely true in some other coaches. If they're going to throw to the sideline, yes, you kind of give them that throw, but force them to throw it over somebody at least. Because yes, at best they make a good throw, you get the catch, whatever. But I mean, at worst for that team, maybe it's an overthrow, it's out of bounds, it's an underthrow, you get a pick out of it. But yeah, doing what the Bears did and just basically saying, "Hey, if you want it, go ahead and take it." Yeah. I never liked that kind of defense. I guess as we wind it up here, Jory's saying would not hear from her until Christmas, which I guess is if the Patriots win.
No,
Okay.
I think
Obviously, you
she's
don't
saying
want that, Jory.
I think she's saying if the Titans lost a game like that, like if the
Oh,
Titans lost
yeah.
on a Hail
Okay.
Mary like
I,
that.
I completely read that wrong.
Listen,
I mean
I get it.
that is kind of a rough way to lose.
The Packers have lost in some really stupid ways, but it's really hasn't been on a blunder like that. Like
Hmm.
we've given up a couple of onside kicks. I still get PTSD if you simply say NFC Championship game 2014. But we've done things like that. But I still can't taunting the crowd before that in the middle of the play. Like that is just the most insane thing I may have ever seen.
You're right.
I'm just imagining
And
like
he was the one who tipped it up
yeah,
in
he's
the
the
air
one that
too.
tipped it up. You know, Kyle, you know what? Like, I would hate to be I'd hate to be him in watching film. Imagine if he had like Bill
Oh yeah,
Belichick as a coach that happened, and then you had to watch film with him
you
the
wouldn't
next
see
day.
him on the field for 2 months. But I look. I feel like now I'll probably be tuning into Bears Cardinals just to see if Stevenson plays. I would like to see if that game comes down to a scenario like that. Will Eberflus treat it differently? If there is a Hail Mary attempt, like,
I,
will the
I
Bears
think you
know what
still.
to actually do this time?
It's really unfortunate with him because this is almost deja vu to the Marcus Williams situation, right? When he gave up the big play, the Minnesota Miracle to Stephon Diggs, because
Hmm.
Marcus Williams was having a great year, but everybody remembered him for that one play. And I really think that he's having a good year. He's one of the Bears' better, cover corners in Stevenson. The issue is now everybody's just going to remember him for that one play. This is just the Marcus Williams situation all over again.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it really is, and especially for a young team like that. Talking about the Bears once again, you got to
Well,
see how they can bounce back from it. Will they let it kind of snowball for a couple of weeks, or if they go up against the Cardinals and blow them out and rebound, that might say a lot about that team in general. So we'll definitely
well,
see.
we've lost championship games on onside kicks. Allowing 107-year-old Kurt Warner to escape the pocket. Lost games giving the ball to Aaron Rodgers after picking off Tom Brady twice. Like, we haven't had that. No, we got ran over by Colin Kaepernick for 183 yards. I think
Mm-hmm.
we've lost a game in just every single way besides that. So honestly, that's probably next. With the way this defense is playing, it's probably next.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, I was trying to think, what's the worst playoff loss for me as a Patriots fan?
It would probably just be the Super Bowl, right, against the Eagles.
Yeah,
like
well,
getting five.
the
Was
Giants
like
one.
say
The
500
Giants one. The Giants one.
start off Brady and still not able to finish it.
Yeah, especially that was to Nick Foles. But the 2 to Eli Manning, I mean, especially the year they were trying to get the perfect season. That one crushed me, losing it the way that they did. But I mean, it happens. Like every fan base has those games that just gut you to the core on losses like that. But yeah, it's kind of all I got for you. You know, I mean, that's all we have for you. Another great show. Brett, got anything you want to say before you get out of here? Go ahead.
No, thank you for tuning in. If you like professional wrestling, I'll be on the Meaty Boys podcast in 15 minutes, so you can catch me on there. Next week, we actually have a special guest for the Meaty Boys podcast. So I'm looking forward to these next couple weeks for Meaty Boys. It's going to be great.
Okay. Yeah, nice. I mean, look, I said every week, wrestling is definitely in a spot that is out there in the forefront and people are enjoying the product. I mean, I saw Motor City Machine Guns won tag championships. Like,
yeah, that's awesome. Love to
that's
see
a
it for
tag
them.
team you haven't heard from in a while. But yeah, it's just like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
George,
so yeah, like Brett said.
One.
Oh, which Giants? Oh, yeah. I mean, okay. I guess we'll see which one was worse. So you had the.
I feel like it's the season. Like,
I think it's the one where they're trying to go for the perfect season. That one was the rough one.
Like
and obviously, that's the one that's the one that's going to get Eli Manning into the Hall of Fame. Which Eli Manning is I mean, I love Eli Manning now. Him on the Manning cast, love him. As a Giants quarterback, hated him.
I like Eli.
Careers.
I respect Eli Manning for what he's done, but I think those 2 Super Bowls that put him into conversations that he shouldn't be in.
Absolutely.
Like when people are like, "Oh, who's better, him or Aaron Rodgers?" Like, what are you talking? What are we doing here?
That was a conversation.
What? Like, we'll just throw him into conversations randomly with like top 10 quarterbacks of all time. Like, I can legitimately ask who's better, Eli Manning or Phillip Rivers, and the answer just might be Phillip Rivers or Matt Ryan, or I'm
taking Matt Ryan all day.
Right, like I think he's closer to that tier of quarterback than the tier that people like to try to put him in, and that's not a bad thing. I think guys like Matt Ryan and Phillip Rivers could very well end up making it into the Hall of Fame, or are going to get their numbers retired by their teams. Worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm. I said it. If Eli Manning gets in, I don't hear any argument against Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan needs to be in. And Phillip Rivers. Because Phillip Rivers, I know he didn't win like the big game with the Chargers or anything like that, but he had some pretty good playoff performances.
So he took Brady to the limit on a torn ACL.
That game, I had a lot of respect for Phillip Rivers during that game.
And I have no doubt that if they made it to the Super Bowl, then Phillip Rivers would have played that game too on a torn ACL.
Absolutely. Yeah. John said Big Ben had 2 also. He's way above Eli.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. Like I said, it's one of those things that I don't hate Eli, but those 2 rings have thrown him into this conversation that he's not ready to be in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, look, like Brett said, check him out, Meaty Boys, here in a little bit. You'll find me on here on Integrity Sports Network. I guess next time I'll be on here is Thursday for Sideline to Sideline and Sports Banter. You can also find me, my channel, Chomping at the Bit. I'll have a couple of videos up either today or tomorrow. Make sure to show Meaty Boy some love with Brett and show my channel some love as well. I guess as we are out of here, Jory has one last comment. Off the wall Giants fans with the Eli Manning did beat Brady twice. I hate that argument. That's why the Giants are on my list of teams I just cannot stand.
So does that mean Nick Foles better than Tom Brady confirmed?
Eagles fans don't bring that one up. I mean, Eagles fans would kind of say like, "Hey, Nick Foles beat you," but they don't have the balls to be like, "Oh, Nick Foles better." No, Giants fans will absolutely try to troll Patriots fans and think Eli Manning is whatever. All right, appreciate all of you in the chat. Definitely was a great night, all because of you guys. Love the interaction. Make sure you guys come back next Tuesday, 7:00. Some more interaction. Love that. More NBA, NFL. Hey, we'll see. Do the wheels continue to fall off in New York? And if they do, we will talk about Aaron Rodgers once again on here. And obviously, as we're talking as well, yes, Jory as well. You'll find me, like I said, Thursday on here, and Friday, Jory and I have Passion and Precision. So make sure you check us both out there as well. Great show. We feel like you'll enjoy it. So, like I said, see me here Thursday and Friday. But yeah, enjoy the rest of your night. Enjoy the games. I saw that Yankees fans trying to cheat. Mookie Betts had a fly ball and a fan reached over, like way over to grab it. This isn't Derek Jeter. You don't get away with that anymore. As a Red Sox fan, finish the job, Dodgers. Sweep those Yankees. But we're out of here. Be safe. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll see you next week.